Good day everyone. So today we're going to work on general form of a line. Let's do a quick review. We have done the slope-intercept form. So this we have done, and the form was y equals mx plus b, where m was the slope and b was the y-intercept. And that was very straightforward. If you have the slope of a line, you have a y-intercept as a coordinate or the value, you can plug it in there in place of m and in place of b, and then have the equation of a line in a slope-intercept form. The general form is, this is the general form where is in a form of ax plus by plus c. And notice that they're all on one side of the equation set it equal to 0. So ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. That's the general form, and some texts they have it as a standard form. And the idea is that we need to be able to realize that that's a general form and then extrapolate all the information that we can, and therefore we can be able to graph that. Now here are the two basically ways of graphing a line. One was we use a table of values. That was the very first thing we talked about. So you just random x and x values, you plug it in into the equation, you create a table of values and then plot the points, and then that would be and then there's a line through it. You draw a line through all the points, and that would be using a table of values for a graph. The second was using the slope and a point on the graph, and that point sometimes is the y-intercept, sometimes just a regular point, but you can use that to get the next point. So start from that point, use the slope, rise over run from the point that is given to you. You go up and then cross, you get another point, and keep doing that until you get 3, 4, 5 points, and then draw a straight line right through. Now for the purpose of this section, general form of a line, I like to talk about ax plus by plus c. And what is it that we can do and use to graph a line using the general form? So with general form, we really can't get a lot of information from it. We have to actually, the only two informations actually, let's go back. The only two pieces of information that we can get is the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And that's because they're very straightforward. So you want to get the x-intercept, and by the way, the x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. What do we have to do? We have to set y equal to 0 and then solve the equation. Solve for y. Okay, so in here we want to find the x-intercept. Simple, that's very simple. That's what you would do. For the y-intercept, we set x equals to 0, and then you solve for sorry, this should say, the first line should say solve for x, the second solve for y. Apologies. All right, so here it is. So let's look at the example. 2x plus 3y minus 1, set that equal to 0. So we want to find the x-intercept. So let y equal to 0. Now we're going to plug in the 0 for y and then solve. 2x minus 1 equals to 0. We want to solve this equation for x. 2x equals to 1. Divide by 2, isolating x on its own. So the x-intercept is x equals 1/2. The coordinate is 1/2 comma 0. That is your x-intercept. Now let's look at y-intercept. The y-intercept, you set x equals to 0 and then you solve. So in this case, so 2x plus 3y minus 1. So what will happen is that, so this is now 0. So this would be 0. So it would be 3y minus 1 equals to 0. Solve for y. 3y equals to 1. Divide by 3 both sides. We are isolating y on its own. So y equals to 1/3. This is your y-intercept. The coordinate for that is 1, 0, comma 1/3, and that is your y-intercept. So those are the only two pieces of information we can get from general form, the way it's written. Basically, that's what that is. All right. Now the rest we have to. So the y-intercept in this case is easy to get. So that's your b, by the way, which is equal to. So another way of saying that b in a y mx plus b is the same. So if I want to kind of make a note here, that y-intercept is this, right? That's your b. So that's what that is. That's the only thing you can get. All right, the y-intercept in terms of using the original slope-intercept form. Okay, another thing to mention about the general form is that a, b, and c, right here, a, b, and c, they have to be all integers. That means they cannot be a fraction or decimal. And also, so a has to be greater than 0, and but all of them, so and b and c, they have to be all integers. So a is the only one that cannot be negative, but everything else can be negative, the coefficient b and the constant c. Notice that c is constant. That's the constant value of that. That means it doesn't have any variable in there. That's the constant. Okay, and basically that is it. So if you have a form that's written like this, but it has to be all integers, a cannot be negative. Remember that x is coming first, so x is first, y is second, and c, the constant, is the third. Has to show up like that in a sequence. That's the general form or standard form. And if you have it set up like that, then you can actually go back and forth between general form and the slope-intercept form. All right, so here is the general form. Let's change that to the slope-intercept form, and remember we want to change it to y equals to mx plus b. That means we need to solve this for the original general equation for y. That means we have to get rid of the 2x and we have to get rid of the minus 1 to set it up in a form of y equals mx plus b. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is the first step, getting rid of 2x with subtracting 2x from both sides, and getting rid of negative 1 by adding 1 to both sides. The last step is you divide everything by the coefficient of y, and I like it when it's done one term at a time. Notice that the dividing by 3 minus 2x is the first term, and then 3 goes under the 1, that's 1/3, and then your equation will look like this. You want to set it up like that, because it looks like mx plus b. All right, what is the slope now? You can read it off. The slope is negative 2/3. Excellent. That's your slope. Okay, and b was 1/3, but this you already knew that. This is we already calculated. Oh, look at that. That's the same thing as that, which is the same thing as that. So here it is. Now you can use this between all the points and then graph the line, no problems. Even though using the x and y intercept, you can easily graph that as well, right? So you have the 0, 1/3, the 1/2, and 0. Those are the 2 points. You can draw a line right through these two, and then you'll be fine. All right, and I included a graph right here for you. Right here, that's the graph of that. So I plotted 1/2, 0, which is right here. That's the x-intercept. The 1/3 for the y-intercept, 0, 1/3, and then draw a straight line through. And notice that the slope is negative slope. It's a downhill from left to right, and the slope was negative 2/3. So we got it right, negative 2/3. That's what that is. That's the graph. All right.